Very good evening to Gladiators TV. I'm Nigel Walrond, your presenter and commentator for tonight's Championship Knockout Cup match between the Plymouth Gladiators and the POOLE Pirates. I understand we are live and on the internet. I understand a few weeks ago some of the Pirates fans had a few issues with getting coverage. Just to let you know, if there are any similar issues tonight, don't go onto social media because we won't see those comments. But if you look at the email you got when you bought the stream, there'll be dedicated links there that you can go to, and we've got a dedicated person on hand to answer your concerns and solve any problems that you might have tonight. But hopefully everything will run like clockwork, and you'll have a really enjoyable evening watching this what's going to be a keenly contested battle between these two sides. Of course, they met in the British Series Network meeting here a few weeks ago. Plymouth just nicked that in the last heat decider by 46-44. Bit of a shock for the Pirates, that one, but they bounced back and have qualified for the semi-finals. The Gladiators obviously had a good win here against Edinburgh last week, so they're in good nick as well. So it should be a special meeting. Adding to the specialness of that meeting, we've got Chris Harris guesting for the Gladiators at number 1 tonight in place of Nikolai Klint, who's riding over in Poland. And of course, Chris Harris was involved in one of the finest races I think we're ever going to see in British Speedway at the British final a couple of Mondays ago. One we'll never forget. They've also got a guest in Zane Kennedy as well against a full-strength POOLE Pirates lineup. But we're looking forward to the racing. We'll hand you over now to Joe in the pits, who's got some rider reaction for us.
Chris, welcome back to Devon. Obviously, shame the weather's not a little bit better, but plenty of Cornish support going to be here behind you tonight wearing the home jacket for once. Yeah,
obviously the weather's not like it was every week, but no, it's good to be here, good to be a home rider for a change, and yeah, I always get good support, so hopefully tonight I can get a few more cheers and a lot more points.
Now obviously you've already been here this season with Glasgow, your parent club. What did you make of the track on that occasion, given the changes that were made in the winter to that back straight and bends 3 and 4 again?
Yeah, I think it made it a bit more room obviously, and a few more lines, so hopefully I can make better starts tonight there and hopefully be in front and not worry about where the other riders are behind me.
Now obviously every fixture against POOLE, no matter what team you're riding for, is hotly contested. It's a particular rivalry down in this part of the world, as I'm sure you know. You got 2 cracks at POOLE this week for the Gladiators, both here and Wednesday night. You must be excited to get out there and to show everybody just exactly what you can do, which we all know is superb every week.
Yeah, obviously I know what local derbies are like, so this one's no different to ones I've been in the past with other teams. So I know what's at stake for the club, so I would, at both meetings, do my best to score as many points as I can to hopefully help the Gladiators through.
And obviously looking ahead to tonight, obviously different teammates you have to deal with. Just how difficult is that when you step in as a guest to come into a different set of pits, different teammates you see every week, to get the best out of them and also help yourself?
Yeah, it can be a bit difficult, but I sort of ridden against a lot of them anyway, so I sort of know how they like to ride and where they ride, so I do try to study my opposition when I come to other clubs anyway, riders, so I know as a home rider I can sort of help them in any way I can, and when we're on track, once you get out track there and you sort of can start looking for each other, but yeah, we'll just play it by ear, race by race.
Always good to see you, Chris. Let's hope for a dry, safe meeting.
Thank you.
Cheers. Danny, I wish I'd welcome you back to Plymouth in better weather than we've got tonight. It's a little bit chilly, a little bit fresh, but how are the boys feeling ahead of tonight's first leg?
Yeah, everyone's really pumped up. We felt the last time here we were so close. It's been the story of our season so far, to be honest. 46, 44, we've seen a few too many of those. It's going to be a tough one here tonight, obviously with Bomber in, but yeah, the boys are fired up and ready to go. What did
the guys think of the track first time round? Obviously they've already had one taste of it, which is something most teams don't get down here, obviously, but what do the lads think of it on that first visit with the new changes? Yeah,
good. I don't think there was any drastic changes in terms of what the guys were saying about the track. It rode pretty much the same. It looked like it was well prepared, and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but fingers crossed for the same.
And things have obviously started well, obviously progression in the BSN, chance here to get the Knockout Cup underway with a fixture tonight and then Wednesday night, and then straight into championship action. Just how key is the Knockout Cup going to be for the Pirates this season?
Yeah, of course, they're all important, you know. We want as many fixtures as possible, and it's important to progress in this competition. Obviously we're the defending Kerr Cup holders, so we'll be looking to stamp our authority on this, but it's a really tough fixture this tonight. We'll be going for the win, but certainly want to keep things close for Wednesday.
And looking forward to Wednesday night. Obviously there's going to be a decent crowd at Wimbledon Road, as there always is, particularly off the back of the rivalry. You're looking to try and take as big an advantage into Wednesday night as you can, or is it just about keeping it tight tonight and then build on Wednesday?
we'll be going for the win tonight, of course, as we always do. We want to win home, away, everywhere we can. But you know, it's going to be, as I said, it's going to be a tough one tonight. Could be damage control. Try and keep things as close as we can. But yeah, hopefully we can come away with a few point advantage, and yeah, that would certainly make me happy.
Let's hope for a dry, safe meeting. Cheers, Danny.
Cheers.
Thank you.
A very good evening. Welcome to everyone to the Coliseum for this Knockout Cup match between the Plymouth Gladiators and the POOLE Pirates. Two big local rivals clashing again for the second time here at the Coliseum this season, the third time overall. Let's run through these two lineups tonight. Chris Harrison is a guest tonight. Nikolai Klint is riding in Poland, so he comes in as a top-line guest, fresh from that fantastic performance in the British Under-21 final recently up at Bellevue. Number 2, Alfie BOWTELL. Number 3, Joe Thompson, currently up in action at Glasgow in the SGB2 qualifier, where he was going to be reserved. He's into the main lineup there. Gladiators had lined up Zane Kennedy, the Scunthorpe Scorpions rider, to come in tonight, but he picked up an injury last night, so they're going with rider replacement. Lasse FREDRIKSEN, who was outstanding from the reserve berth for the Gladiators against Edinburgh Monarchs last weekend. Ben Barker, the skipper, at 5. Mitchell Cluff drops down from the main body of the team to the reserve berth tonight, and Ben Trigger is his reserve partner. Garry May is the team manager. POOLE Pirates were there at full strength. Richard Lawson topping their lineup with a very good 9.21 average. Tobias THOMSEN is his partner. Then it's a very solid looking engine room for the Pirates with Anders Rowe at 3 and skipper Zach Cook at 4. Lewis Kerr is at number 5, their third heat leader. Former Gladiator Paul Starke is in at number 6, and their recent signing Darryl RITCHINGS is at 7. The team manager is Neil Middleditch, and the SCB referee tonight is Wayne Jarvis. Delighted to be joined on commentary by Joe Bell, and after the fun and games we had here in the BSN series a few weeks ago, this could be a really tasty encounter tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Nigel. Good evening, everybody at home. Yes, it's we're used to racing against the Pirates multiple times in the year, and we're doing exactly the same early on tonight. And as you say, it was a fabulous meeting here. What was it, 3 weeks ago against the Pirates? You went right to the very end of the fixture with the Gladiators breaking a 2-year hoodoo over the Pirates, of course, and they'll be hoping to go back to back here tonight, but it's going to be a tough ask. Pirates had their noses blooded 3 weeks ago, and they will sense an opportunity tonight to reassert their dominance in this particular rivalry.
And they obviously got their revenge big time up at Wimborne Road, didn't they, in the second leg? And of course, Knockout Cup is over 2 legs. The second leg is going to be at Poole next Wednesday. So it's not just winning the meeting, which obviously is always the goal, but the Gladiators are going to want to build up some sort of lead as well, aren't they?
Yeah, Danny Ford alluded to that in the chat with me before the meeting, that he didn't want to give the Gladiators anything to hold on to go into Wimborne Road on Wednesday. They go into every fixture wanting to win everything, as a POOLE Pirate rider should do. They're used to winning, they're very famous for it, and they've won everything there is to win now, haven't they? So they'll be hoping to do that tonight, but look, the Gladiators have to put everything on the line. They have to show a bit of fight. The Knockout Cup has been a bit of a dodgy hunting ground for the Gladiators the last few years, so let's hope there's a change of fortune here in front of what's a very good home crowd once again.
Just going through the lineup here, and that's some guest, isn't it? Chris Harris. I know, I mean, Nikolai Klint has admitted himself that he's struggled so far here. I think he's only won 2 of his 16 starts, which, you know, for someone who's piling up the points around the world elsewhere is surprising. But Chris Bomber Harris, I mean, he got a hatful here for Glasgow, and the Gladiators will be hoping and praying he does the same tonight.
Well, exactly, and he'll have a whole heap of Cornish support up tonight supporting him as well. He's always well supported wherever he goes up and down the land, but particularly here at the Coliseum. He rides the track oh so well. He seemed very cool, very composed before the meeting, as you'd expect. And look, we know just how good Chris Harris is. There aren't enough adjectives in the dictionary to describe Chris Harris, and it was all on show, as you mentioned, at Bellevue in that British final just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, absolutely superb, his effort to go up against the quality of riders he did, to get himself into that final and to go so close. If you haven't seen it yet at home, I don't know what you've not been watching, but get and watch that grand final. Everybody had a chance to win it. And, you know, it's a shame that Harris doesn't get to be an out-and-out wild card for one of the 2 GPs at Manchester, but I'm glad to see he's the first track reserve, isn't he? Or certainly one of the reserves for both nights. So that's a wonderful reward to to a man who's had a stellar career, and long may it continue.
I think the only race I've enjoyed as much as that, particularly around Bellevue, was that famous Chris Harris-Danny Ayres battle, I think, which was another thriller-minute meeting or race in that particular meeting. Mitchell Cluff dropping down to reserve tonight, that's going to be very interesting, because it's been a big ask for him, isn't it, to come straight into the main body of the team. We've seen how well his compatriot Mitch McDermott has done at Oxford riding at reserve, and this will give Mitchell Cluff a chance maybe to find his feet a bit more and rack up a few more points. He can gate, it's just you know, doing that on a consistent basis and holding his position, isn't it?
You're spot on, and one thing we should say about Mitchell Cluff is it's not for the want of trying.
No, not at all.
I'm not sure there's any setup he hasn't tried around here at this point, and he is really trying. I didn't catch what the toss details was there, but we'll get it we'll get it in due course. But yeah, I mean, it's a big opportunity for Mitchell Cluff now. Drop into reserve with these new averages. Obviously, drop into a 3.0. So let's hope he can get a bit more luck. And look, there's been signs of promise in various fixtures. I remember seeing on the updates page at Oxford, you know, he made a couple of starts up there and things. And as you say, he can gate. It's just about keeping the bike there and putting his bike in the right place. The one thing that I took away from the pool fixture last time around was just how well Joe Thompson was placing his bike around the race circuit, and Joe's going to be a massive miss tonight. Obviously now standing in for his brother up at Glasgow of all people. But you know, let's hope that there's a change of fortune for Mitchell Cluff tonight, and he's got a man alongside him at the reserve berth in Ben Trigger, who started the season really well, and I think it's gone under the radar just how well Ben Trigger's doing. I think I had a look on the averages. He's averaging about 5, high 4s, low 5s this season. So, you know, I hope Ben has a good night, and I hope Mitchell has a good night, and as long as it ends in a Gladiators victory, we'll be going home happy.
Yeah, Ben cut a frustrated figure here last week. It's the one meeting probably that he hasn't done well in, and he was a very frustrated man. He was trying all different sorts of setups. Just talking about the Thompsons, we give our best wishes to Dan Thompson, who's very sadly ruled out with a broken scaphoid he picked up in that British Under-21 final up at Glasgow last weekend. He's had cruel luck in that event in recent years, been ruled out the year before with COVID and then another injury, and a scaphoid's a horrible injury. I've had that before, and you're looking at a good 6 weeks there, and he's in such good form at the moment. It's a real blow for him.
Yeah, he's been absolutely flying, but so's Joe.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity, and as we mentioned, we'll be trying to keep on track as best we can throughout the night on just how well Joe's doing, and he will be a miss tonight. Obviously, it would have been good to see how him and Lasse would have formed a partnership. Lasse's first time in the main body of the team tonight, but the riders are getting on with it. We're going to try and get on with it while we stay dry.
Yeah, that's right. A race against the elements tonight. The rain's coming in. Gladiators are in gates 1 and 3, so they've got the inside gates in this first race, and there is Chris Bomber Harris. We'll just go through the lineup. And it's Alfie BOWTELL for the Gladiators in blue, Tobias Thompson in yellow for the Pirates in gate number 2. There is Chris Bomber Harris in red, guesting for the Gladiators tonight. And there's the Pirates number 1, Richard Lawson in white on the outside. And what a tasty opener this is, Richard Lawson versus Chris Harris. It doesn't get too much better than that at championship level.
No, absolutely not. And we've got two guys who have had, you know, Chris Harris has obviously in recent years had multiple spells guesting for the Gladiators with the number 1 trebles. Obviously Richard Lawson had a brief spell as a Gladiator a few years ago, and he's guested down here plenty of times. We've got two guys here who have a fantastic record going round the Coliseum. It'll be very interesting to see how the track rides tonight, because a few weeks ago it was gates 1 and 3 were very much the place to be. There was very little luck coming from 2 and 4, so it'll be interesting to see how the gates stack up tonight. But look, it's going to be all about this first corner, isn't it? Can Alfie BOWTELL get across Tobias Thompson? And then what can Chris Harris do? Can he shut off any challenge from Richard Lawson from gate number 4?
Heat 1 of the knockout cut clash about to get underway here at the Coliseum. What should be a great night of racing. And the start marshal getting them under orders here, and we're ready to go. And that's a great gate there by Tobias Thompson, with Alfie BOWTELL, second Chris Harris, third Richard Lawson, surprisingly at the back at the moment. He's going underneath hard on Chris Harris. Can he get through? Harris just holding his line there.
Yeah, really good gate by Tobias Thompson. There I was talking before the fixture about whether Alfie BOWTELL can get across and shut him off. He wasn't able to do so. Now Chris Harris has got a very interesting task here that we didn't think he would have, and that's keeping Richard Lawson behind him. But for the one solitary point, he's trying to just push Alfie BOWTELL up a little bit. Tobias Thompson, though, out and gone and looking stylish up front.
Yeah, he's got to have eyes in the back of his head here, Chris Harris, because he's got to watch what Alfie BOWTELL's doing ahead of him, but he's also got to keep Richard Lawson behind him. It looks like he's going to be successful as we enter the final two bends. Lawson has one more look, but it's going to be a drawn heat in the opening race here at the Coliseum. A 3-3, Tobias Thompson the winner in yellow, and then it's BOWTELL, Harris and Lawson bringing up the rest of the lineup.
Well, I won't be buying a lottery ticket after that, because I did not have Tobias Thompson winning heat number 1, but what a ride by him. He got out of the gate, shot out of the gate, and he never looked back, did he? Once he got to bend 1 and he realised Alfie BOWTELL wasn't going to come up his inside, Tobias was away and gone. Very unusual to see Richard Lawson with a 4th place down here at the Coliseum.
Yeah, gate 4 maybe a bit difficult to get out of at the moment, but there's the confirmed finishing result. Tobias Thompson 3 points to the Pirates, then the Gladiators packing in 2nd and 3rd with Alfie BOWTELL in blue, Chris Harris in red, and then Richard Lawson, as you said, surprisingly bringing up the rear. So it's 3 points apiece, and we're expecting a close meeting, and that's the way it started.
Well, yeah, exactly, and we're going to take it from the gate here now, and you'll see Tobias Thompson come off to Alfie BOWTELL last up to the line, as is his wont. Richard Lawson and Chris Harris, interesting to note straight away, there's a bit of a gap between them there on 3 and 4. Richard pressed up against the fence, Chris Harris sort of in the middle of his gate box. But look at this jump from Tobias Thompson, out and gone. He got across Alfie BOWTELL, just pushed Chris Harris into a bit of no man's land there, but by this point, Richard Lawson was already adrift by 2 bike lengths. He tries to got the inside of Chris Harris here. He just struggled a little bit coming off bends 3 and 4, but look at Tobias Thompson out in front. Every lap he went round this track, he pulled another bike length out of Alfie BOWTELL, who rode a strong race in 2nd, but that's a bit of a shock with Tobias Thompson winning heat number 1.
This is going to be a fascinating heat 2, this one, with Mitchell Cluff, as we said, dropping down a reserve, also a former Gladiator in Paul Starke. So it's Paul Starke off the inside in white for the Pirates. Mitchell Cluff alongside him in red. Darryl RITCHINGS in yellow in gate 3 and Ben Trigger in blue in gate 4. And Ben Barker, just watching him, really encouraging the Gladiators pair. They went out onto the track, and he's just up above us in the commentary position here, keeping an eagle eye on proceedings.
Yeah, this is, you know, not wanting to put too much pressure on him, but this is all about Mitchell Cluff now, isn't it? This is his chance now to really seal his place within this Gladiators team. He's got to deliver now at reserve, and you know, this is a good heat for him. Ben Trigger's in decent form on the outside, just bashing together his equipment, incidentally, yes, on the outside. I'm not quite sure what's gone wrong with Ben's bike, but he's all right. Doesn't look overly happy. Just trying to bash something back into place. Darryl RITCHINGS off gate number 3, stepping in, replacing Matt Marson. Obviously Will Cairns will take up that position in due course.
Paul Starke will fancy this off the inside under starters orders, and they're away, and that's a great gate from that man we're talking about, Mitchell Cluff. That is fantastic, that's what he is capable of, and he's leading the Pirates duo on this first lap. They're packing in the placings to Starke and RITCHINGS with Ben Trigger. Ben Trigger's come up underneath Darryl RITCHINGS there to make it a 4-2 at the moment. Yeah, that was all on Paul Starke. Unfortunately, Starke went into 3 and 4, just nudged Darryl RITCHINGS, up towards the air fence, and that allowed a perfect avenue for Ben Trigger, who doesn't look overly happy with his equipment in this heat, in his first ride of the night. But Mitchell Cluff, this is exactly what he needed. We've got 2 races in 1, but with 1 lap to go, let's hope he can hold off Paul Starke. RITCHINGS keeping Ben Trigger honest, but he just locked up a little bit on the 3rd and 4th bend there, and a good battle at the front, but this will do Mitchell Cluff an absolute power of good for his confidence. Drops to reserve, wins his first outing. Great work by the Australian. It's a 4-2 to the Gladiators. Ben Trigger just shaking his head across the start-finish line there. Obviously not too happy with 3rd place, but the Gladiators just nudged ahead here. Yeah, one man who is happy with his first place though is Mitchell Cluff, and he absolutely deserves every round of applause he's getting. He's shown promise. Look at him, look, trying to get the home straight crowd going. This is exactly what we said beforehand. He's shown promise out of the gate in some meetings, but he's not been able to put the bike in the right place. He's done exactly that there. Superb from Mitchell Cluff. So Mitchell Cluff the winner in red. Second, Paul Starke in white. Third, Ben Trigger in blue. Fourth, Darryl RITCHINGS in yellow. So 4-2 to the Gladiators, and the Gladiators nudging into an early lead here, 7 points to 5. Just a reminder, this is a 2-leg knockout cup match, so it's just not a case of winning tonight, but trying to build up as big a lead as possible.
Yeah, really good from Mitchell Cluff there. He gets across the inside here, Mitchell Cluff, and he gets across Paul Starke, and this is absolutely superb from him. Darryl RITCHINGS from gate number 3. He made a decent start as well. To be fair, it was a fairly level line going into Ben's 1. You can see Ben Trigger there just going up a little bit high. That's not where you want to be at this stage of the meeting, but you're going to see it here. This is Paul Starke going up the inside of Darryl RITCHINGS, and there he just got out of shape a little bit, pushed Darryl RITCHINGS wide even, and that was exactly what he didn't need, and that allowed Ben Trigger up the inside. As I said, Ben didn't look overly comfortable before the heat with his machinery, and as you say, he was shaking his head afterwards, so I'm sure Lee and Ben will be working hard in the pits to make sure his machinery is right for the next ride.
Another cracking looking lineup here. Alfie BOWTELL is coming out as the rider replacement for Zane Kennedy. The one we can probably pencil in already is Heat 12, which will almost certainly be Lasse FREDRIKSEN. That's because he partners the rider replacement rider in all the other races. But BOWTELL is another cracking looking lineup. Off the inside gate is that man Lasse FREDRIKSEN, up into the main body of the team after his superb reserve performance last week. Alongside him is Anders Rowe, who's been piling up the points in the Premiership recently. Alfie BOWTELL off gate 3 in red for the Gladiators, and Zach Cook, the Pirates skipper, he's in the outside gate, and he'll be looking to score heavily as well. He's obviously taken over the captaincy from his brother Ben Cook this season.
Yeah, this was really where Poole shone actually 3 weeks ago, was in the numbers 3 and 4 position.
It's a strong pairing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Anders Rowe actually only dropping points up there in heat number 15. Here 3 weeks ago, he was on a maximum going into 15.
They do a job at 3 and 4 in the Premiership, these two, wouldn't they?
They would. They would. And Zach Cook is really good value.
Yeah.
He is absolute value. And, you know, off a 6.2, he kind of makes a mockery of how the average systems work. But you're right, he goes particularly well around this track. And I'm sure this is one heat that Poole will be looking at to try and at least restore some parity to the evening's event.
Let's hope FREDRIKSEN can pick up where he left off from a Gladiators point of view. Here we go with heat number 3. And it's Anders Rowe gets the drop there into the first bend. Zach Cook at the back at the moment. It's the rider in red, Alfie BOWTELL, who's... Oh, BOWTELL's, he lost the chain. No, he's just locked up there. I don't know what happened, but he's managed to hang on to 3rd place.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Alfie because it was really good work in the early stages to shut Zach Cook out at the back, and he was looking like he was going to try and hunt down Anders Rowe. Anders is out and gone. He's checked out here, as he did 3 weeks ago. Good ride by Lasse FREDRIKSEN in 2nd place. He's putting the bike exactly where it's needed. Alfie BOWTELL now, his one aim is to bring home a 3-all with Zach Cook, who's going to be all over the back of him with 1 lap to go.
Yes, Alfie BOWTELL just tearing the tear-offs there, just getting a little bit filled in. He's still not got clear vision as he heads down that back straight, but it's going to be another 3-3 heat draw here. Well out in front there, Anders Rowe, Zach Cook at the back, and it's a 3-3, and it puts Gladiators still up at 10 points to 8.
Yeah, and I think Garry May will be a happy man after that. 1 rider replacement ride down. It's a tied heat, which from most of these rider replacement rides is probably what he'll be aiming for, given the Gladiators are just a 6-man team. Anders Rowe is superb around the Coliseum. He was excellent 3 weeks ago. It's now 4 wins from 5 rides this season from him down here. Superb from Rowe.
Anders Rowe, the winner in white for the Pirates. Then it's Lasse FREDRIKSEN in blue and Alfie BOWTELL in red for the Gladiators, with Zach Cook at the back. So it's our second 3-3 in the first 3 races, and it's 10 points to 8 to the Gladiators. Be interesting to watch, see what happened with Alfie BOWTELL there. I thought for a minute he'd shed a chain, the way he seemed to lose control going into the 3rd bend, but he managed to hang on really well.
Yeah, it was quite dramatic from Alfie, wasn't it? The bike sort of jarred on him almost on the track, but we're going to see it from the start here. This is where Anders Rowe makes a really good jump. Lasse FREDRIKSEN didn't get a bad start himself, but there's Alfie just pushing Zach Cook out, and this is where he goes around the outside of Lasse FREDRIKSEN. So let's see what Alfie does going into bends 3 and 4 as he comes in. Oh, it's just something with his foot there, isn't it? His standing foot is where he loses a bit I don't know whether there was a tear off on the track.
Yeah, it
or
looked like
something
something on
seemed
the
to come
track,
up,
wasn't there?
whether that made him lose a bit of balance. But Anders Rowe, as you know, similar to what Tobias Thompson did in Heat 1, just taking more and more bike lanes out of the rest of the field. But Lasse FREDRIKSEN will be happy. 2 points, first ride in the main body of the team. But as I said, Garry May will be delighted to get out of that heat with a rider replacement ride with a tied heat. That will be a big boost for the rest of the evening for him.
One of last week's heroes for the Gladiators, Ben Barker, out in this race. He was the only winner of Gate 4 last week. And Mitchell Cluff is coming in as a reserve ride here for Ben Trigger. We saw Ben Trigger had some bike issues at the start of that previous outing, so it's Mitchell Cluff in blue off Gate 1 as a reserve ride. It's Darryl RITCHINGS in yellow off Gate 2 for the Pirates. That man Ben Barker, the Gladiators skipper, in 3 in red. And Louis Kerr, another man who's piling up the points to Sheffield in the Premiership at the moment. He's in white off Gate number 4. Should be a fierce battle in those 2 outside berths here.
Yeah, absolutely. I do just wonder whether Ben has been replaced here just so we can have a bit of a look at his machinery. He's not out now programmed until heat number 8. So he's got a little bit of time to just take a look at whatever the problem was, if there was a problem. Maybe he just didn't feel comfortable. Whatever the issue is, it will give him a bit of time to assess it. Good opportunity for Mitchell Cluff, though. He's deserved to come straight back out at the first opportunity. Ben Barker is a man who needs a good night at home.
Yeah.
He's done okay, but it's not been the Ben Barker we've been used to around the Coliseum. So he will be hoping for a safe, good, strong night tonight.
Here goes heat number 4. That's a good, that's Barker and RITCHINGS did a great gate there. In fact, it's Louis Kerr picks up the chase around the outside, but a great piece of gating there by Ben Barker. Mitchell Cluff's got it all to do at the back.
Yeah, now for Mitchell Cluff, he's got to get close to Darryl RITCHINGS. He didn't get anywhere out of the start line, and it was a good gate from Darryl RITCHINGS. Ben Barker then just seemed to go over the top of the 2 Pirates. Louis Kerr, who had a really disappointing night by his standards here a few weeks ago, is going to try and set after Ben Barker, but that's a thankless task around here. Ben is looking stylish out front. Mitchell Cluff's got a lap and a half to try and get to Darryl RITCHINGS.
He doesn't seem to have the speed, Mitchell Cluff, at the back there, but he's still in hot pursuit of Darryl RITCHINGS, but he'll be disappointed with that. It's quite strung out, this race. Ben Barker crosses takes the checkered flag. Another rider shaking his head there in Louis Kerr, but it's Darryl RITCHINGS who'll be delighted with his 3rd place, and Mitchell Cluff coming in at the back. But Ben Barker imperious out front.
Yeah, he was, and that was a bit of 1 step forward, 2 steps back, unfortunately, for Mitchell Cluff there. He just didn't get anywhere off the start line. But Ben Barker was superb there out in front. Louis Kerr, as I said before, he had a really disappointing night here a few weeks ago. Filled in 2nd place there on his first ride as well. He'll be hoping for better luck than he had for the rest of the meeting here tonight. But for Ben Barker, that's exactly what he needed for his own confidence. He needed to get out there, he needed to make a start, and he's done well. Barker,
the winner in red. Louis Kerr, 2nd in white. Darryl RITCHINGS will be delighted with his 3rd place in yellow, and it's Mitchell Cluff in blue who's 4th. We saw this, I think it was the first meeting of the season, wasn't it, when Mitchell Cluff gated brilliantly in his first ride, and then he seemed to be chasing the setup for the rest of the evening, and there seemed to be a little bit of that in that one, didn't it?
Yeah, we're going to see it here, and you can see him off gate number 1 off the inside. We'll just see it as the tapes go up. Ben is fairly level for the rest of them, but he just doesn't go anywhere off the start line, and Darryl RITCHINGS gets across him. And whilst Darryl RITCHINGS then does straighten up going into bend 2, unfortunately that's all she wrote for Mitchell Cluff. He couldn't get near enough. Meanwhile, while our attention was drawn to that, Ben Barker's out and gone. So Ben Barker out and away from Anders Rowe here, but it was really good. You can see Mark going around on the track there. I think this is going to be the quickest track grade we've ever seen. For those of you who haven't checked the weather forecast, we are expecting a little bit of dodgy weather coming in later on, so we're going to try and crack on with it. But Mark is flat out on this tractor.
Yeah, depending on which weather forecast you look at, it could be 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. Yeah, they're going to try and crack through with this to get the meeting done and dusted before the rain arrives.
Yeah, we're going to see Ben Barker out here in heat number 5 in red, so I think that's 2-0 to me on Garry May bingo. I think we did our best, didn't we? And I think we're 2 from 2, Nigel, on trying to predict these rider replacement rides. Although going up against Richard Lawson and off the back of a win there, it was a fairly obvious pick for Garry, I would have thought.
Yeah, and I think we'll be 3 from 3 with Lasse FREDRIKSEN in heat number 12, won't we? So we just got to nail heat number 9, and we'll be sitting pretty. But the gate stats so far: so gate 2 is the dominant gate, 3 wins off gate 2 so far, and it's also collected 10 points, just 1 off gate 3. And gates 1 and 4, no race victories yet, which is slightly unusual. We don't normally get a dominant heat gate 2.
Which Ben Barker will be delighted at, because he's coming out of gate number 2 in heat number 5.
There's Danny Ford, the Pirates promoter, in the pits, just filling in his programme. Anders Rowe looks a very happy man there. It's, as we scan round, there's Louis Kerr just working on his bike. He was shaking his head as he crossed the finish line, so obviously not completely happy with his machinery. There's Chris Harris.
Very laid back, Chris Harris.
Yeah. Alfie BOWTELL, he's made a good start. He's got paid 4 from his first 2 rides, so he's done a good job. It's, just replacing the chain there. I wonder if that's something to do with the issue that he had that made him lock up.
Maybe. I mean, it was just a very odd situation, wasn't it? It definitely looked like there was something on the track, like a tear-off, that seemed to go under his standing foot that caused him an issue. There's Lasse FREDRIKSEN getting ready to come out with his captain Ben Barker. They're just going to have a chat about some tactics. Ben's will be, I'll get to the front and you follow me around, I would imagine. Chris Harris going for a chat as well. What a man to have in the corner, even if it is just one
Cornwall's
night
finest there, Harris with Barker, isn't it?
Does Lasse FREDRIKSEN have any relations in Truro, do you know?
We'll find one.
We will. What a man for Lasse FREDRIKSEN to be learning off now. I mean, obviously Ben Barker's very experienced in the pits. He's got Mark Simmons on his bike, who's done so much good work for this club during his career, among others. But what a person to feed off, and particularly for Ben Trigger as well. Those young riders having the opportunity to pick Chris Harris's brains. This is where the guest system really does work. It offers youngsters a chance to learn off one of, if not the best British rider there's been for many a year.
Richard Lawson and Tobias THOMSEN in the pits, they're just waiting to come out. FREDRIKSEN obviously was key last week in the victory over Edinburgh, but I think Garry May deserves a lot of credit for the way he managed the team over that meeting, because I mean, John Campbell did a great job for Edinburgh as well. I think quite often in Speedway nowadays, team managers can't do a lot to influence proceedings, but I thought both team managers made some really clever moves last week, and Garry May just pipped his Scottish counterpart in the end.
And that would have given him a huge amount of satisfaction as well.
Oh, he's a happy man in the pits afterwards.
I'd imagine he was. Yeah, and I thought last week the Edinburgh fixture was a fantastic advert for Championship Speedway as well. Cast your mind back 12 months ago with anybody who watched the Edinburgh fixture down here. We had tape issues, we had all kinds of problems throughout the night. It wasn't a great advert for British Speedway. Last time out against Edinburgh was superb. It made up for what happened last year. 2 teams who gave it absolutely everything. There is Garry trying to plot his next move.
Yeah.
He's already trying to ruin my programme after just four completed heats here tonight. But yeah, no, it was superb, and those are the little wins that Garry likes to get, doesn't he? He likes to play little games with his fellow team managers. Obviously, going up against Danny Ford tonight, standing in for Neil Middleditch, who's not here this evening. Danny did it down here last year in a couple of fixtures. I don't know whether he particularly enjoys the role. I wish I'd asked him that beforehand.
Yeah.
But, it's a different challenge for him. But, if Poole can keep it, if they can't get the win, as long as nothing drastic happens tonight, which has never happened against Poole down here at the Coliseum, then they'll be very happy. There's Mitchell Cluff having a bit of work done to his arms. Incidentally, I don't know whether that's a new issue or something that's
a little bit of
ongoing
muscle tension maybe. We should say team management is a lot easier when you've got cracking number 6s like Lasse FREDRIKSEN and Victor Palavara. It makes your job a lot easier when they can have 7 rides each. It's just working out where you're going to put those 7 rides, and Palavara, since the meeting down here, has continued to pile up the points.
Now, I said Zach Cook makes a mockery of the average system. Victor Palavara is making an absolute mockery of the average system. What an unbelievable find he's been from Edinburgh early season, really hitting his straps. Before the end of the season, he might find himself topping Justin Sedgman to be number 1 at the Monarchs, but absolutely superb. And he's great to watch as well, Victor Palavara. He's got a really nice style on the eye when you see him go around the track. It wasn't quite the night he's been used to.
No, he didn't get a race win
here the other week, but even so, you can still see that he's got a lot of class about him. And you'd think if the Monarchs are going to achieve something this year, then he is going to be absolutely crucial. But not only him, Jonathan Grant as well.
Yeah, he
made a really good
he was
start
quality last week down here. And of course, Edinburgh thrashed Workington Comets at Armadale last night, and then this afternoon's meeting, I think it was at Workington, was a 45 all draw. Who won the Super Heats in that one?
There wasn't one.
Oh, there wasn't.
There wasn't one because of the aggregate. But
of course, yeah.
That's more like it for Workington, isn't it? That's you know. Whilst they'll be disappointed they didn't win a home fixture, they've not had a great start. They haven't raced many fixtures, it has to be said. So maybe it's just a bit of rustiness.
Because on paper they looked like a good, you know, they were pre-season. I think the pundits were looking at Workington as a playoff contender, but you know, they haven't quite fired. I mean, with the heat leader trio of Ulas, Stishke and Troy Batchelor, of course, and then you've got two cracking reserves in Jacob Hook, who was here before, and Vinnie Ford. They look
all
good.
action reserves.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just noticing in the background there behind Lasse FREDRIKSEN, this is what I was saying about Chris Harris. He's in the background there talking to Lee Trigger. And, you know, this is where it's going to be important. This is where Chris Harris's role becomes even more important than just going out and riding race wins tonight. I'm sure he'll be asking Lee, you know, do you need any help? What can we do to help him? So let's hope that works. Now, I'm going to make an early prediction here, Nigel. I don't imagine I'll be writing a second 0 against Richard Lawson's name.
No, I think that's a tough heat, isn't it? It's a really tough heat for someone who got a duck egg in his first ride, because the Gladiators are looking strong, and of course a first race winner in Heat 1, Tobias Thompson, is out in this one again, and
especially coming out of Gate 3 as well. We've seen what an awful record that
so
one
here's
has.
the confirmed lineup. There's Tobias Thompson in yellow off Gate 1. In Gate 2, Ben Barker for the Gladiators. Gate 3, Richard Lawson for the Pirates, looking to improve on that first outing. And then there's that man Lasse FREDRIKSEN in Gate 4 in blue.
It doesn't look right seeing Richard Lawson.
No.
It's not what we're used to as we take a look at Wayne Jarvis. Hopefully he'll have a quiet evening.
Yes, well, if they're trying to beat the rain, he needs to have a quiet evening, really. They can rattle through the 15 heats.
Which the good crowd in tonight deserve.
Yes, no, it's an excellent. There's been some really good crowds here this season, and they've been thoroughly entertained as well. We always say, you know, it's good that you're watching the stream, but if you can make it down to the trackside, there's nothing better than live speedway racing with the noise and the smell and the atmosphere. That should be your first option. If you can't make it, then obviously the stream's your second option.
And on top of all that, I can assure you this is not usual May Bank holiday weather.
No.
It is very cold.
It was always going to go bad this weekend, wasn't it? Here we go, heat number 5. And there you go, Richard Lawson making a great gate there. So picking up after his duck egg and leading Ben Barker down that back straight. And this is more like the Richard Lawson the POOLE Pirates fans know and love as he leads over into start of lap 2.
This is also the Richard Lawson that Plymouth Gladiators fans have come to see go around the Coliseum. Made the gate, got across Ben Barker, said you're not getting up my inside, and he's away and gone. Ben just having a look over his shoulder there. I think he was hoping it was Lasse FREDRIKSEN behind him, not Tobias Thompson. What is interesting is the riders that are going wide on bends 1 and 2 are getting absolutely no traction off this race in Southwest early doors.
Yeah, Thompson's looking very competitive again, a first race heat winner, but FREDRIKSEN is putting pressure on him. Thompson likewise putting pressure on Barker. But it's going to be Richard Lawson who takes the checkered flag. He'll be a much happier Pirates number 1 after that outing. And Barker second, Thompson third, and Alfie BOWTELL, sorry, FREDRIKSEN coming in 4th. So that's got us all level pegging again, 15 points apiece.
Yeah, what we are seeing at the moment is there's not a huge amount for the riders to feed off the surface. If you notice the gaps the leaders are having, they're out and gone every race.
Richard Lawson white in first for the Pirates, then it's Ben Barker in red second for the Gladiators. Tobias Thompson building on his first race heat win, he gets third, and Lasse FREDRIKSEN bringing up the rear. So it's a 4-2 to the Pirates, and we thought this would be close after 5 heats. There's nothing to separate these two sides, 15 points apiece.
Absolutely not, as we take a look at the POOLE fans on the back straight. But let's take a look at the replay, and what you're going to see at home here watching this is you're going to see what I'm talking about with Lasse FREDRIKSEN off the outside in blue. He's the man to watch out for, though Richard Lawson gets across Ben Barker here towards the inside. Watch FREDRIKSEN as he goes into bends 1 and 2. He tries to go wide and there's just nothing to push the bike forward. There's nothing out there to get him going, and he tries it again here off bends 3 and 4, and he loses so much ground off Tobias THOMSEN.
Absolutely dies.
And at the moment, you do not want to be out in that position. So if I was giving some advice to a rider, which I wouldn't dare do because I wouldn't get on one of these bikes, I'd be urging them all, stick to the inside early doors.
Well, Gate 4 has produced hardly any points
One
so
point
far.
so far by...
Oh, FREDRIKSEN got a... no, you're right, yeah.
Ben Trigger, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you don't really want to be out in that outside gate, and the honour for this one it goes to Paul Starke. This is up into heat number 6, and in red, Chris Harris, who came third in his opening ride. He's in red for the Gladiators in gate 1. Alongside him is Louis Kerr for the Pirates. Alfie BOWTELL in blue is in gate number 3, and Paul Starke out in that what's a bit of a graveyard gate at the moment, gate number 4 for the Pirates.
All 4 riders who've got fairly decent records around the Coliseum in one time or another. Obviously, Paul Starke, back in the old days of the Devils, was a very key rider to the club. Obviously, had a stint with the Gladiators a couple of years ago. Louis Kerr has often rode well here. I remember he rode in the anniversary individual fixture, didn't he? And he rode particularly well here that night. Has guested on a number of occasions. And in Alfie BOWTELL, we've got a guy who simply loves this place as a home track. He always goes very well around here, and I'm not going to throw any adjectives out about Chris Harris because we know what he can do.
Of course, Paul Starke had his testimonial meeting here, didn't he?
He did.
But, which feels a very long time ago now.
I'm sure it does for Paul Starke as well.
So, Chris Bomber Harris out against Louis Kerr here, the battle of the heat leaders. Under starters orders. And we're away. Harris has made a good gate there. Got the drop on Louis Kerr, and at the moment it's Alfie BOWTELL who's following. Well, he's not only following him, he's overtaken Harris down that back straight to take the lead. And there's a bike problem for Louis Kerr, who's dropped out.
Oh, Louis Kerr, how's your luck? It's just like 3 weeks ago, unfortunately for him. Chris Harris got across the front of Louis Kerr. He shut the door, which allowed the avenue for Alfie BOWTELL to get around the outside. And what it looked to me, Nigel, was that Chris Harris was just happy to shepherd Alfie BOWTELL home. He was going to team ride if he needed to, but he was going to be more than happy to just slot in behind Alfie BOWTELL. Unfortunately for the Pirates, Paul Starke is a fair way behind. This is perfect for the Gladiators.
Yeah, good, looking like a good 5-1 here for the Gladiators. Rotten luck there for Louis Kerr, but it was 5-1 at the time he dropped out. So, and they do complete it. BOWTELL and Harris, the main stand on their feet, celebrating with their 2 riders. And third place is Paul Starke, obviously Louis Kerr, a non-finisher. And he's just wheeling his bike back into the pits. But Alfie BOWTELL, the winner, and he's paid 7 from his first 3 rides tonight. That's great work from BOWTELL.
As I said, I feel so sorry for Louis Kerr. It was a tale of exactly what happened 3 weeks ago. Hopefully it doesn't end the way it did for him that night. But rotten luck with his machinery. But what a start for the Gladiators, a maximum in Heat 6.
BOWTELL, the winner in blue. Chris Harris in red got second place. Paul Starke in third. And then Louis Kerr with those bike issues at the back or having to drop out. So a 5-1 to the Gladiators. That gives them the biggest margin of advantage in this Knockout Cup tie so far this evening. They're leading by 20 points to 16.
Yeah, very good. Very good from the Gladiators pairing. Exactly what you expect. You're going to see it here from the start. You see Alfie BOWTELL off 3, Chris Harris off 1. And you're going to see, as the tapes go up, Chris Harris, it looked like Louis Kerr may well have got a better start than Chris Harris, but he just pushes him out there into a bit of no man's land. By that time, Alfie BOWTELL is round the outside, and unfortunately for Louis, as he goes into bend 3, the bike says no, not tonight, unfortunately. And there was just no power underneath him. But this is a big one. Heat number 7, up against the Pirates engine room, and Mitchell Cluff's back out again.
Yeah, I did wonder if they'd switch the reserves back here and put Ben Trigger out in this one, but it's looking like Mitchell Cluff out there. But yeah, this is a tough arse of Mitchell Cluff. Not only is he up against 2 of the Pirates' strongest riders, he's got gate 4 as well. So he's going to do very well to get anything out of there.
I don't think we're too far away off some illumination around the track here. We could do with some lights being put on at some point.
Yeah,
it's
getting dark.
Getting a little bit dark, but good heat 7 ahead.
Anders Rowe off gate 1 in white for the Pirates. Ben Barker, the Gladiators skipper, in red off gate 2. Zach Cook, of course, didn't score in his opening outing. Very unusual for Zach Cook. He's in yellow off gate 3 for the Pirates. And Mitchell Cluff in gate 4 in blue for the Gladiators. And he'll need to be at the top of his gating game here, Cluff, if he's going to get anything out of that gate 4. But Zach Cook will be looking to bounce back from that last place in his first outing.
Exactly right. Anders Rowe will look to carry on where he left off. Ben Barker exactly the same, but let's just hope Mitchell Cluff can get a bit of traction coming out of gate 4. It really is not the place to be at this point in the meeting. And, you know, I don't know who's got the pick in heat 15 if we get there, but that could be all important.
So here we are with heat number 7. And our Pirates duo out in front. Great piece of gating from Rowe and Cook there. It's dominant into that first turn. Ben Barker going around the outside. Oh, there's a little bit of action at the front there, and that's incredibly tight down that back straight.
Oh, Ben Barker having to try all different lines to try and get round Anders Rowe. Very tight. He tried to come between the two Pirates. Ben starting to generate some speed around the outside of Rowe, who shuts the door. This is fantastic action here in heat number 7. What can Ben Barker do? He'll be fired up by what happened in Ben's 1 and 2. He continues to go wide to drive the speed. Now switching up the inside.
Rowe chopped his nose off on the previous lap. Barker tries the outside, cuts back to the inside. That's a brilliant move, but Anders Rowe just holds on there, and great work from the Pirate. Barker tries the outside again, and he's got over the finish line. I think he just nicked it there. Oh, Barker's piled into the fence, losing control. He's picked himself up, he's fine, but I'm pretty sure he just got the nod there ahead of Anders Rowe. What a brave move that was by the Gladiators skipper.
Have you ever heard noise like it for a second place? The place has gone wild for Ben Barker. That is absolutely superb from the Gladiators captain. I expected him to jump up with both arms above the air. Little fist bump to the fans there. He'd have enjoyed that. That was superb speedway by all involved.
Brilliant. Oh, the three of them all battling it out together there. We're just waiting for confirmation that he did cross first, but I'm pretty sure he did.
We'll take it here. He's trying high and wide, and he tried it earlier on and had the door shut on him. Zach Cook has a look. Here he comes. It's tight. Anders Rowe tried to shut the door, and Ben Barker said, not on my track.
Half a wheel, I think he got it there.
He loses it completely, bless him.
It's what a race, though. What a fantastic race. The race of the night. So that's a 4-2 to the Pirates. And that gives us Zach Cook the winner in yellow, Ben Barker second in red, Anders Rowe third in white, and Mitchell Cluff at the back. So it's a 4-2, and that gives us a progressive score of the Gladiators 22, Pirates 20.
Yeah, we sort of lost track of what was going on with Mitchell Cluff there at the back, didn't we? But no, that was superb, and that's exactly what we come here to see, isn't it? In Speedway around the Coliseum, there's always this little stigma attached to the Coliseum that you don't get good racing. We'll just watch those 4 laps back. We're going to enjoy it here. Ben Barker goes up the outside. Anders Rowe, I think, does the right thing, trying to stick to the inside because he probably doesn't expect Barker to generate the speed he does.
He looks
and
across.
He does everything.
He looks across, and it's his worst nightmare there, isn't it? Ben Barker right on his outside.
And the problem was, because Ben had so much speed, he then couldn't get the wheel turned in time for Ben 1, and he ended up in the air fence. Thankfully, he's up and fine. We never like to see Ben Barker in the air fence, even if it does seem to be a regular occurrence down here these days.
I think it was the pool meeting where he ended up sitting on top of the
air
fence, wasn't it?
No, I called that fixture with the excellent Rob Dyer, and we still don't quite know what happened. He sort of ended up going in with both arms locked. I suspect there was I think Rob said it at the time, there was a suspicion of a dislocated shoulder that Ben maybe administered some care to itself, shall we say. Not advised to anybody at home, don't do that at home. But now, this is a crucial heat 8.
Yeah.
This is absolutely crucial because Ben Trigger will be wanting to right the wrongs of that first ride. He's had a bit of time now to look at his machinery. We saw Chris Harris and Lee Trigger out the back. Let's hope they fix whatever gremlins were there.
Alfie BOWTELL, as we said, is going very well. He's in gate 4 off red. Off the inside in yellow is Darryl RITCHINGS for the Pirates. Ben Trigger in blue off gate 2 for the Gladiators. It's Tobias THOMSEN in white for the Pirates in 3. And as I said, BOWTELL off gate 4. Let's see if he can do anything off that troublesome gate. Of course, Mitchell Cluff got a last place again. And it's so hard to even get a point out of there at the moment, let alone anything more than that. But let's see if Alfie BOWTELL can change that. 18 seconds left on the starting clock.
I think we're all good on that regard, thankfully. But as you say, Alfie BOWTELL's got it all to do off gate number 4, you would suspect. But let's hope Ben Trigger can use gate 2 to his advantage.
Heat number 8 about to get underway. That's a tight first turn. Trigger's gated well, but going down the back straight on his outside is Tobias THOMSEN, and Alfie BOWTELL is ahead of Darryl RITCHINGS at the back.
Yeah, really good work from both of them actually. Ben Trigger from the gate. It's a good ride by Tobias THOMSEN. You've got to take your hat off to him to go around the outside. But then Alfie BOWTELL eyed up a slot up the inside of Darryl RITCHINGS, and he managed to get up the inside. This is fine for the Gladiators, I think. A 3-all here in Heat 8. Ben Trigger and Alfie BOWTELL, there's a fair gap between them. Tobias THOMSEN doing exactly what he did in Heat number 1. He's looking good out front.
Yeah, he is. He's looking a class act tonight. This will take him to 7 points from his 3 rides, 2 heat wins in that total, and he takes the checkered flag as he comes around the last bend. Ben Trigger in second, and if we were at Wimborne Road, he'd be doing a donut for the fans now to celebrate, but I don't think he'll do that in front of the Gladiators fans somehow. But great riding by Tobias THOMSEN there.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise it, put it that way. But he's box office is Tobias, and he's delivered 2 really strong rides. To be fair to Tobias THOMSEN, his ride in Heat number 5 wasn't a bad one, with Richard Lawson as his companion, obviously. But no, that's perfectly fine for the Gladiators, I think, a shared heat, and decent for Ben Trigger.
Tobias THOMSEN, the winner in white in this heat number 8. Ben Trigger second in blue. Alfie BOWTELL managing a point off that gate 4 in red for the Gladiators. Darryl RITCHINGS bringing up the rear, so it's another 3-3, and there's still nip and tuck this meeting. 25-23 to the Gladiators as we reach, well, just past the halfway mark, and now we're going to have a track grade. But we've seen some great racing, aren't we?
Yeah, that's brilliant from Alfie BOWTELL there, going up the inside of Darryl RITCHINGS. As I say, to be fair to Ben Trigger, he made a fairly decent gate off gate number 2. But no, it was really strong from Trigger and BOWTELL.
So Mark Phillips just going around grading, and Joe's just going to nip off into the pits to see if we can get some rider reaction. But the track's riding pretty well so far tonight. We've seen a great piece of action from Ben Barker going around the outside of Anders Rowe on the finish line, and we've seen a few overtakes as well. It's starting to get pretty dark out there, but the rain is holding off, which is good news, and we're over halfway through the meeting, so hopefully they can crack on and get this meeting finished. And as I said, the second leg then is at Wimborne Road next Wednesday evening. It's always a tasty fixture when Poole race Plymouth, and they often get drawn in the Cup together and the BSN series, and of course we've still got the league encounters to come as well. But looking at the score charts, as I said, Tobias THOMSEN really doing the business for the Pirates with 7 so far, but there's been heat wins for Richard Lawson, Anders Rowe and Zach Cook, so 4 Pirates riders getting heat wins. Garry May just having a little pep talk with his riders there. Let's look at these gate stats, and it's not just the outside gate that's difficult at the moment, it's the inside gate as well. Not a single race win from gates 1 and 4. Gate 2 has got 3 heat wins, gate 3 has got 5, but yeah, it is surprising, isn't it? Gates 1 and 4, not a single heat winner yet.
No, which will make the pick in Heat 15 all the more
Yes.
interesting, won't it? I just had a funny little interaction with Ben Trigger, first of all, in the pits, where I said, come on, and he said, well, the bike change worked. So it's a second bike for Ben Trigger, and I did have a very good moment with Ben Barker. He enjoyed it, shall we say. He enjoyed getting around the outside of Anders Rowe. And that's what you want to see from your skipper, but Garry issuing another rally cry. He knows that this is a real chance now for the Gladiators to try and get in front. We're going to see Ben Trigger, I think, out in red here. So I think, Nigel, we've nailed rider replacement bingo.
Yeah, I think we have. It was almost certainly Lasse FREDRIKSEN coming out in heat number 12. Yeah, Ben Trigger's got the 2 rides he's had so far. He's got 3 points, so he'll be reasonably happy with that. I know he was disappointed with his first outing, but that's his average at the moment, 3.14. He's got 3 and he's still got a couple of rides to come.
It sounds silly, doesn't it? Because after his first ride with the machinery issues, you'd kind of be, you wouldn't be wrong for thinking that Trigger's struggling this evening and he's having a tough night. But actually, he's already got his average. So let's hope and pray that he'll be able to get it going again as Mark comes back round with the tractor. I think what's going to happen now is we're going to see a replay from the last time the Pirates were in town. Maximum man Anders Rowe. Gate number 2 in red is Joe Thompson. Gate number 3 in yellow is Richard Lawson. Gate number 4 is Nikolai Clint. This could really kickstart the Gladiators season. The tapes are up and away we go. Richard Lawson's made it, but Joe Thompson slams the door on Anders Rowe. Richard Lawson's going round the outside. He's going to get in front of Joe Thompson. Now at the moment, Anders Rowe now needs to get past Joe Thompson. It's a 4-2 to the Pirates. That's not enough at this stage.
This is going to be a big ask for Anders Rowe to get past Joe Thompson. He's working his socks off, you've got to say. His style is that he creeps around the inside line. Joe's a little bit wider there, but still holds off Anders Rowe. Anders Rowe looking for the closest he can get onto the grass verge on the inside. Rounding outside, Joe Thompson just fending off Anders Rowe.
1 lap to go, 226 metres. Anders Rowe is going to throw the kitchen sink at Joe Thompson, who has a look and closes him off. Richard Lawson's out in front, but get ready, folks. 2 years of pain are about to be ended. It's a 4-2 to the Pirates, but the Gladiators have defeated the POOLE Pirates on home soil. 2 years to the weekend since they last tasted victory over Neil Middleditch's treble winners.
Crucial. Second position there, a 4-2 heat advantage to the visitors.
The final result of the evening in heat number 15, it's a win in yellow for Richard Lawson. Second in red was Joe Thompson. It's a third in white for Anders Rowe, who just wasn't able to do enough to get...
Happy memories for the Gladiators fans there from the meeting earlier in the season in the BSN series. Joe Thompson getting the congratulatory bumps. And well, that was a 2-point margin of victory. At the moment it's 2 points as well, 25-23 after 8 heats. Zach Cook and Richard Lawson just having a look at the track grade going on. There's Barry Bishop alongside the 2. Of course, he's going to be the Centurions team manager this season. Good to have Barry on board here down in Plymouth.
Centurions side that features both Ben Trigger and Joe Thompson, of course, this year. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. And a host of local youngsters,
and
which
Matt
is refreshing to see.
Marston as well, of course, who was with the Pirates at the start of the season. Struggled really at championship level, and they brought Darryl RITCHINGS in. But of course, they're just temporary stopgaps until they bring Will Cairns in at the end of June. I think it's June the 29th he becomes available. And bit of a gamble from the Pirates, because they've got a lot of meetings between now and then. But I think if anyone watched the British Under-21 final up at Glasgow last week, you can see why they're waiting for Will Cairns, because for a young man of 15 years of age, to perform like he did in that meeting was incredible.
Yeah, it was, and he does look a real talent, doesn't he? Which is annoying that he won't be wearing a Gladiators race jacket, he'll be wearing somebody else's. But there's Bomber taking a good long look at his machinery, draining some fluid out of it, and I'm not quite sure. He'll be. I wonder if he's frustrated he's not got a heat win yet.
Yeah, though, as you said, he shepherded BOWTELL around, didn't he, in his second outing. He's got paid 5 from a possible 6 so far. There's the Pirates duo, Lewis Kerr and Paul Starke, just waiting to go out for heat number 9. Would you care for a Joe Thompson update? Yes, I would.
Joe Thompson replacing Dan in the SGP2 qualifier up at Glasgow this evening, has had 3 rides so far and is on 6 points.
Wow.
a second place, a third place, and a heat win in his last outing. And he's back out next, where he'll go up against fellow Brit Ashton Beaujean.
Wow.
So good luck to Joe with a couple of rides. He's putting himself in a really strong position there up at Glasgow, and more importantly for a Gladiators point of view, he's getting track time. And
he got some handy practice up at Glasgow last weekend when he finished on the rostrum in that British Under-21 final. Hats off and congratulations to Sam Hague, who retained his title. Didn't look like that after his first outing when he trailed in at the back in that meeting, but Sam Hagen did the business, and again there was some good racing in that meeting, and just such a shame Dan Thompson had to drop out very early on with that broken scaphoid after his bike climbed up the safety fence. So here's the lineup for heat number 9. We got Louis Kerr for the Pirates in white in gate 1, Lasse FREDRIKSEN in blue in gate 2 for the Gladiators, Paul Starke, former Gladiator, in yellow off gate 3 for the Pirates, and there's that man Ben Trigger in gate 4 for the Gladiators. So as we said, gate 1 and gate 4 have not produced a single race winner yet. Can Louis Kerr change that, or even Ben Trigger possibly? But 2 points up the Gladiators going into the second half of this meeting.
For those who are remotely interested, we have some illumination for the rest of this evening. We do have some floodlights, which I must admit are going to be needed because it's just starting to get a bit murky around the Coliseum. That's why we're rattling on with the evening's proceedings. Hopefully we get through it before getting ourselves drenched, but let's hope here that Ben Trigger can do something off gate number 4. He's on this second bike that he seems very happy with after my little discussion with him as I entered the pits briefly a moment ago. So let's see what him and Lassie can do against a Louis Kerr who desperately needs a heat win.
He does. Starting marshal walking away from the tapes. And Louis Kerr's made a good one there. Comes hard underneath the Gladiator Lasse FREDRIKSEN, who's just swept around the outside of Paul Starke, going down that back straight, and tries to do the same now on Louis Kerr.
Well, all of a sudden, you don't want to be up the inside, you want to be going around the outside. Lasse FREDRIKSEN is really beginning to build up some speed behind Louis Kerr. He's going to try and go wide again. Now he's going to try and cut the inside. All of a sudden, Louis Kerr's got something on his plate here because Lasse FREDRIKSEN is hot on the pace. At the back of the field, Ben Trigger is trying to get close to Paul Starke to mount a challenge. What can Lassie do?
Yeah, another classic battle here out the front. FREDRIKSEN and Louis Kerr. Kerr just about hanging on, but he needs eyes in the back of his head because FREDRIKSEN's looking outside, inside, but Kerr is going to hang on for that race win. We've got our first race winner off the inside gate of the night, and with his teammate coming in third place, that's a 4-2 to the Pirates, and we're back all level again at 27 points apiece.
Yeah, interesting to know what to make of that heat, really, because Louis Kerr and Lasse FREDRIKSEN had a good battle. It looked at one moment like Lassie was going to go round the outside, taking the Ben Barker route. At the back, unfortunately for Ben Trigger, it was the gate 4 curse, wasn't it? He just didn't get out at the start, and to be fair to Paul Starke, he did what he could. He pushed the Gladiators pairing out to create a chance to get a 5-1, but fair play to Lasse FREDRIKSEN then going around his outside.
Yeah, Louis Kerr there, the winner in white for the Pirates. Lasse FREDRIKSEN battling hard for that second place in blue for the Gladiators. Paul Starke getting a vital point for the Pirates in yellow, and it's Ben Trigger at the back. So as I said, a 4-2 for the Pirates, who just won't go away tonight. It's 27 points apiece as we head into heat number 10.
Yeah, important for Louis Kerr. Important that he gets that heat win. He gets a bit of trust in his machinery a little bit as well, obviously after an issue with the bike. And you mentioned, Nigel, after his first ride that he was shaking his head afterwards. So whether or not he noticed something in his machinery then, we'll never know. But this is tasty.
Yes.
This is tasty. You've got Chris Harris. If any man can break the hoodoo off gate number 4, it will be Chris Harris.
Yes. And Alfie BOWTELL paid 9 so far tonight. He's put in a fantastic performance in that number 2 slot, and then up against the strong engine room of the Pirates and Anders Rowe and Zach Cook. So yeah, this has got the makings of being another great race as we look across the starting lineup. Zach Cook has got the inside gate in yellow for the Pirates, and it's Alfie BOWTELL off gate 2 in blue. Anders Rowe gate 3. Probably still smarting from Ben Barker catching him on the line in that last outing. He's in white. and it's Chris Harris in gate 4 in red. And as you said, this has got the makings of being a tremendous race.
If Ben Barker and Lasse FREDRIKSEN can deliver speed coming off the outside, off the banking of bends 3 and 4, Chris Harris is going to fly around the outside here, and this is going to be spectacular. What I will say, those who are keeping track of the gates and what's doing what so far, I've just had a quick look at the programme. In the final 4 tabled races before heat number 15 after this, the Gladiators have gate 4 just once coming up after this. So just how it was 3 weeks ago, where the Gladiators had the favourable gates at the end, if you're looking at how the points are being shared, it would appear the Gladiators might be in a good spot again here.
Well, we had only one winner from gate 4 in last week's meeting, none tonight, so it really is a tough place to get out of. Here we go with heat number 10. That's a great gate from BOWTELL. Sweeping around the outside though is Anders Rowe, and coming up the inside Zach Cook, but BOWTELL is hung on. Chris Harris trying to get past Cook. You can throw a blanket over the riders in second, third and fourth.
Here comes Chris Harris. You can bet your bottom dollar that there's plenty of time to go, but he is going to try and hunt down Anders Rowe. Alfie BOWTELL is going to have his hat full now with Zach Cook chasing him down. This is going to be a really good final couple of laps here. Really good moves by all 4 riders at various points in this race. Anders Rowe is out in front. 2 races in 1 again. Harris is getting to Rowe.
Yeah, he's closing. He's putting a lot of pressure on at the front for Anders Rowe. Rowe is just stretching his legs down that back straight, and I'm pretty sure Anders Rowe, Harris trying one more effort on that last bend, but it's Anders Rowe. And Zach Cook trailing in at the back. The pool skipper has had a real up and down night. The last, a first, and now another last. But another great heat there, and it's a 3-3.
If you are keeping track of the overtakes here tonight and expecting that to be the gauge of a good meeting, then you're probably not enjoying it. But if you're looking at really close competitive racing, seeing that as entertaining, this has got everything you want. There's all sorts going on out there tonight.
Anders Rowe, the winner, he's having a sterling evening, and it's his second race win of the night. He's in white for the Pirates. Chris Harris coming up in second in red for the Gladiators. Teammate Alfie BOWTELL adding another point to his tally in blue. And then Zach Cook, as I said, surprisingly, the Pirates skipper at the back. It's another 3-3. It's 30 points apiece, and we're all set for a titanic last 5 heats here.
We just, and we're going to take it from the start here. This is, you know, Chris Harris. My immediate reaction here in the commentary booth, Nigel, was to get excited about where Chris Harris had gated from. It looked like he'd made a decent start, but it wasn't to be. Now Alfie BOWTELL gets to bend 1 in front. Anders Rowe goes around the outside. Zach Cook tries to hug the inside, but Chris Harris says, no thank you, I'm going to go around the outside. At this point, Alfie BOWTELL squares up once again going into bend 4, and Chris Harris goes up the inside, and now it looks like you could throw a blanket over all 3 of them. Chris Harris, Zach Cook then tries to go back up the inside of Alfie BOWTELL. He shuts the door, and as all that's happening, Harris is winding it on, and it looked like with 1 lap to go he may be able to launch an assault, but unfortunately just got a little bit out of shape, I think, going into bends 1 and 2 by us, and that put pay to that.
BOWTELL's got 8, paid 11 tonight. Here we go with heat number 11. And another battle of the big boys here. Ben Barker in red for the Gladiators off gate number 1. Richard Lawson, who picked up that race win last time out, he's in white off gate 2. Mitchell Cluff, who's got the gate number 3 this time in blue. And it's Tobias THOMSEN, who's going to be trying his best from gate 4 in yellow. He's got 7 points from his 3 rides, so he's probably one of the most informed riders of the night who's had a chance at gate 4. Can he produce the goods this time?
I always have a wry smile on my face when I see Ben Barker and Richard Lawson side by side in a gate at the Coliseum, because this is going to be entertaining, particularly as I mentioned now that there are lines appearing where riders can generate some speed. Whether you're up the inside or you are going wide around the outside, the riders are now being able to get something going, so this could be entertaining. For Mitchell Cluff, it is all about the start. Now, unfortunately, he's not made one since heat number 2. If ever Garry May needed him to get his gating gloves on, it's here.
2 of the old boys of the British Speedway scene here in Barker and Lawson coming off those inside gates as it gets gloomier and gloomier out there. The lights are getting brighter as we start heat number 11. Barker weaves his way to the front, and Mitchell Cluff coming round the outside. Can he get over the top of Lawson? He cuts down the inside of him. Can he get underneath Richard Lawson? Lawson battling hard to hold on, and he does to second place.
That was excellent from Mitchell Cluff to even give himself the chance to get up the inside of Richard Lawson. Ben Barker was out and gone from the gate. Mitchell Cluff is trying to generate some speed now to get at Richard Lawson, who perhaps now, for Lawson, in a weird way, Lawson's fight is behind rather than in front. Barker's checked out in front. Tobias Thompson can't land a blow on Mitchell Cluff. We said he needed his gating gloves. He had them there.
Yeah, great work out the front here by Ben Barker, pulling clear Richard Lawson down that back straight, and the Gladiators skipper delivering again his second race win of the night, puts him on 10 points for the evening. Lawson second, Cluff third, and Tobias Thompson again off that gate 4 coming in last. But the 4-2 there, just edging the Gladiators another 2 points ahead.
Fair play to Mitchell Cluff is what I'm going to say, because we're going to see it now from the race replay. It was brilliant from Cluff to get up the inside there of Richard Lawson and to put him under all sorts of pressure. And to be fair, for the season Mitchell Cluff has been having, a 4-point return from his 4 rides represents an improvement. That's not derogatory to him, that's just a good night.
Barker, the race winner in emphatic fashion there in red for the Gladiators. Richard Lawson in white in second for the Pirates. Then it's Mitchell Cluff battling all the way for his third place in blue. And poor old Tobias Thompson in that graveyard gate coming in last in yellow. So 4-2 to the Gladiators. You said that was crucial for Mitchell Cluff, for manager Garry May, and he's pushed the Gladiators 2 points clear there, 34-32.
And once again, gate number 4, an absolute graveyard for Tobias Thompson. Just didn't get off the start line. And unfortunately, he was the one who missed out on all Ben 1 fun. You can see Mitchell Cluff get up the outside of Richard Lawson. Ben Barker makes a good gate. Lawson sticks to the inside. Look at Cluff here. He's going up the inside. And I actually think for a moment there, Mitchell Cluff is in front.
Yeah.
But Lawson just had that little bit of speed coming off that cushion, but is now in place in Ben's 3 and 4 for him to go around the outside. You're able to generate some speed, and you think in these final couple of races with the likes of Richard Lawson, with the likes of Ben Barker, Chris Harris, Louis Kerr, all coming out in these final couple of heats now, we're going to be in for some really entertaining racing from here.
And we can call house in rider replacement bingo, because Lasse FREDRIKSEN is coming out as we expected in red. Said it was meant to be Zane Kennedy, who was taking over from Joe Thompson tonight as a guest, but he got injured last night. So Gladiators going with rider replacement. And the gate stats, well, again, not just 0 heat wins from gate 4, but just 7 points. Compare that to 22, 21 and 16. Gate 3, obviously the pick of the gates, was 6 race wins from, 6 from 11. So more than 50% coming off that gate. And Gate 2 has provided a lot of points, even if it hasn't provided that many heat winners. But Gate 4, you don't want to be there. And Mitchell Cluff is also coming out as a reserve ride. Thank you for that, Joe, in place of Ben Trigger in blue. So
I suspect that's a bit of a reward to Mitchell as we take a look at the start lines. I think he did enough there. You know, and when I say it's been a good night for him when he's scoring 4 points, I don't mean that in a defamatory way. I think Mitchell Cluff has actually had a really good night. He's been on the pace. He's gated in 2 of his rides, and you've seen that because he scored points in them. Unfortunately, he struggled a little bit in those other rides, but if you look, you know, he's had a good night, and if he can get a point or 2, even another race win here, then Mitchell Cluff will be asserting himself back in this Gladiators team. But this is good. They're hardy souls.
Yeah, they'll be watching the clouds like the rest of us, but we've only got 4 races to go, so hopefully we're going to get there.
They're brave as well. I don't spot a single brawly in there.
Yeah, as you said, bank holiday weather. They're all in coats and not. Oh, there's 1 or 2 pairs of shorts, not many. I don't know if they're brave or foolish tonight, but yeah, slightly different clothing you would have seen it than we had here for the Edinburgh meeting.
And I assure you, they're in good form. Whether or not you're picking it up at home on the stream or not, the noise when Ben Barker went round the outside of Anders Rowe, this place went wild. And I suspect if the Gladiators can notch up back-to-back victories over the Pirates here tonight, if there was a roof over the Coliseum, it would come off. As we take a look at Ben Trigger, who will have hoped to have been out here, but all he can do is hope that maybe Garry will give him a go in heat number 14.
Yeah, he's had his 3 programmed rides.
He has, again, both reserves have hit their average.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ever ask of a reserve, in my book, is hit your average. If you get anything on top, that's a bonus, because the riders above you in the team, it's their job to score the big points.
So they've got 7 points, the Gladiators reserves so far, and POOLE have got 5, paid 6, so not a lot to choose between the two sides and the reserves berth. Well, it's reflected through the whole lineups, really, hence the 34-32 scoreline.
It's reflective across the whole league this year, I think. I think a lot of the teams in the league this year have gone very top heavy, you know, and the reserve berth perhaps isn't as strong as it. You know, last year we were really confident with Joe Thompson and Jacob Hook. So
Lasse FREDRIKSEN in red for the Gladiators, coming in as a rider replacement here. Paul Starke is alongside him in gate 2 in yellow. Mitchell Cluff as a reserve ride for Ben Trigger in blue in gate 3. And look at the man in that graveyard gate. We've got Anders Rowe, who's a top-notch rider for the Pirates. He's got 7 points tonight, as did Tobias THOMSEN when he had that outside gate. We'll ask the question again, can Anders Rowe get any better than, well, I think the most we've had is a point, or maybe Chris Harris got 2, didn't he? So that's the best we've had from that gate tonight, but Anders Rowe will be looking to do the business here.
And it appears like they're all starting from essentially the same position in gate 4 as well. I wondered whether somebody might try and go close to the inside of gate 3, but they've not done it.
Heat number 12. Anders Rowe's done not quite. He made a good gate, but got forced out. He's at the back, and there's a battle going down that back straight, and there goes Mitchell Cluff around Lasse FREDRIKSEN, and the Gladiators at the moment on a 5-1, but Paul Starke putting them under a lot of pressure there.
Where has this come from? Where on earth has this come from? Lasse FREDRIKSEN will now try and guide home Mitchell Cluff. We said beforehand this was a reward for Mitchell Cluff. He's repaying Garry May handsomely here. What can Paul Starke and Anders Rowe do? So uncharacteristic, but it's gate 4. It's the graveyard tonight. 1 lap to go. Come on, boys.
Good effort here by Paul Starke, trying to split the Gladiators duo, but he's got less than a lap to do it, and I think it's going to be a little bit too much for Starke here. But Mitchell Cluff, another masterstroke by Garry May to bring him in as a reserve ride, and that's a great 5-1 for the Gladiators, and that stretches that lead out to what are we, 6 points now, which of course does mean Paul can bring it on as a knockout cup, so you can't use tacticals, can you? So they're really milking the crowd there and enjoying the celebrations.
I was talking about the proverbial roof before that heat, wasn't I, that it was going to come off? Well, it's come off there. Home straight crowd are all on their feet. That's exactly what Garry May wanted. Garry May is delighted, absolutely delighted with what his 2 boys have done there. Massive embrace for Lasse FREDRIKSEN and Mitchell Cluff. Fair play to Mitchell Cluff. We said beforehand what a good night he was having. Brilliant for Mitchell Cluff. I'm delighted for him.
Yeah, an excellent heat winner there for the Gladiators in blue. Lasse FREDRIKSEN in red coming home second. It's Paul Starke who battled all the way there in 3rd place in yellow. Anders Rowe, as we said, off that 4th outside gate and really got pushed out on that first bend. So a 5-1 to the Gladiators. They've opened up a 6-point lead. That's the biggest margin there's been so far in the first leg of this knockout cup match. 39 points to 33, and here's a rerun or a replay of that heat, and you'll see here Anders Rowe really got forced out on that first bend.
You're talking about a 6-point gap being the biggest it's been all night. It feels like it's been the biggest it's been for against the Pirates for a couple of years now. Paul Starke was just caught in no man's land. He had a Gladiator to his outside, he had a Gladiator to his inside, and he had nowhere to go. And the 2 boys rode brilliantly from here. Unfortunately for Anders Rowe, he just got forced out at bend number 1. He had to go wide. There wasn't the traction there for him. And as I said, this is the Gladiators' final heat, programmed off gate number 4. Unfortunately, Ben Barker has to come off it. But with a 6-point lead, Garry May will be quite happy to just get out of this with a tied heat. But you know, I just hope now I'm going to have to say a rosary in the corner of this commentary booth that we have to pick in Heat 15.
We shall find out. But yeah, this is a classic lineup for this heat number 13. Heats 13 and 15 are always big heats in any meeting, but some
lineup.
It's the Cornish double act here coming out here for the Gladiators with Chris Bomber Harris and Ben Barker. And it's up against 2 very good friends in Richard Lawson and Louis Kerr. Just waiting for, who are we waiting for? Ben Barker to come round to the tapes. So this is how they line up, with Richard Lawson off that inside gate in white for the Pirates. Then it's Chris Harris, paid 7 so far tonight, in red for the Gladiators. Louis Kerr, he's got 5 points to his name in gate 3 in yellow. And Ben Barker, who's piled up 10 points. He's off gate 4 in blue.
You don't get many fixtures where Richard Lawson, Chris Harris and Louis Kerr have got 15, paid 17 between them.
Yes.
I mean, it almost doesn't make sense that we're in a fixture where Plymouth have got 39. Harris has only got 5, paid 7. You know, and somebody here is not going to score a point.
Yeah.
And this is going to be interesting to see how the Gladiators can approach this, because a big heat advantage here, if we were to dream of a 5-1,
Well,
they're almost in dreamland with 2 heats to go
the
tonight.
Gladiators need to keep the hammer down, don't they, to take a good lead up to Wimborne Road. This should be a great race, heat number 13. And the Poole duo made a great start there. Great work from... Oh, red lights come on. Well, it looked like a great piece of gating by Lawson and Kerr.
Somebody's jumped. Let's see if we can see who it is. Bit of roll in from gate 3.
Yeah,
Harris had a
it's
twitch.
Chris Harris.
Yeah, Harris gets the warning.
Yeah, just a slight
Unsurprisingly,
movement.
just had a little twitch.
Good spot by referee Wayne Jarvis there.
Not had a huge amount to do tonight, but good spot, Mr. Jarvis.
Yeah. He'll be...
Not that he can hear us.
No.
Thankfully.
You can feel that wind picking up. You sense the rain is fairly imminent, but I'm sure we're going to get through this.
Yeah, we've not got long to go, so bear with us as the riders come back for a bit of juice put into the engines.
And you've got to say hats off to Mark Phillips for putting this meeting
Absolutely.
on tonight, because it was a gamble, I think.
It was.
You're looking at the forecast this morning, the point that the rain was coming in. I said it depended on which forecast you looked at, but it looked like it was going to kick in around 7, 8, 9 o'clock. And he could have taken the easy option and said, right, we'll call it off. And he's been very brave, and he's been rewarded for that.
And on top of that, his communication about it as well.
Yes.
He was very active on social media this morning, keeping people constantly updated with the situation. So as you say, hats off to Mark Phillips and the track staff here, because the track's been in decent shape.
Yeah.
As the night's gone on, the racing has got better. We've had a lot more moves. We've got lines now around that outside. What's important for the Gladiators here is they didn't make the gate in that race. And you can actually say that Harris penalised himself.
Well,
with his jump, because he twitched and then stopped, and then the tape.
That was the one thing that Pirates could argue about there, is that you know, that they were on for a 5-1 when the referee stopped it. But anyway, Richard Lawson back in white for this rerun in gates number 1. It's Harris alongside him in red. Louis Kerr in yellow for the Pirates in gate 3, and Ben Barker in blue in gate number 4.
And again, it's all the same starting position of gate number 4.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now, look, I've never ridden a speedway bike. I don't know what I'd be looking for on the start line, but I'm just a little bit surprised somebody hasn't tried. Just try and get up close to that bit of whitewash on the inside there. Ben's coming over a little bit. You can see where that rut is on the outside where everyone started. Just takes me by a little bit surprised that nobody's taken a gamble, given how bad it's been out there.
It doesn't, I mean, from our viewpoint, obviously we're not speedway riders, the gates, there doesn't look to be too much difference visually, but there obviously is in that gate number 4 position. And I said it's not just this week, it was last week as well. But Mark Barker, of course, was the only one to win from gate 4 last week. So
can history repeat itself?
Can you repeat the dose this week? Just calling Chris Harris up to the start line, and they're under orders to start marshal walk away. And Harris gets the drop there. Excellent gating from Chris Harris, and Ben Barker has dropped up the inside, and the Gladiators on a 5-1 here at the moment, but Richard Lawson and Louis Kerr be doing their utmost. Lawson's got back underneath Ben Barker to snatch second place.
Yeah, Richard Lawson will now need eyes in the back of his head though, because Ben Barker is going to come on hard here. He's going to try everything he's got to try and get up his inside, but now all of a sudden Ben Barker's having to have a look for Louis Kerr. The Pirates will be really frustrated here, because it looked like Harris had handicapped himself with that jump start. They were on a maximum. Harris got the warning, he gated, he's out and gone. Barker now just bring home the 4-2.
Yeah, Chris Harris out wide, scraping the fence almost there. Richard Lawson following him down that back straight, but Ben Barker's going to hang on for what should be a crucial 3rd place on a bike pack up there right at the end for Louis Kerr. You heard a big bang there, and he looks really frustrated. I mean, he was going to come last anyhow, but that sounds like an expensive bang there to his machine. And that's the second mechanical problem he's had tonight.
Chris Harris, race win round the Coliseum. It's taken a little longer than we expected, but it is so vital when you look at that progressive score.
Harris, the winner in red, and as you said, his first race win this evening. Richard Lawson white in second place. Ben Barker in blue is third, and Louis Kerr, as I said, had a bit of a machine issue right at the end there in fourth in yellow.
What's happened to Ben? Ben's walked off the track. I'm not quite sure what's happened.
He didn't have another off after crossing the start-finish line, did he? Just to tidy up there, 4-2 to the Gladiators, making it 43 points to 35. 8-point lead for the Gladiators.
Yeah, and we said it looked like Chris Harris maybe penalised himself from that first little twitch he had at the start line. This is superb, this bit of racing. Ben Barker cuts back from the outside, gets up the inside of Richard Lawson, but Lawson knows exactly where to put the bike. He generated a lot of speed, took Barker to the outside. Fair racing, absolutely room between the pair of them. Lawson then had a look to see Barker was comfortably behind. He tried to set about to get after Harris, but Harris had checked out by that point. Now then, an 8-point lead with 2 to go for the Gladiators. This is uncharted territory.
And it looks like Mitchell Cluff is going to come out in blue in this one. So we are going to get this meeting finish, which is brilliant. No sign of the rain yet. Mitchell Cluff in blue off gate 1 for the Gladiators. Zach Cook will be looking for a much better display here in white for the Pirates. 1 win and 2 last places in his 3 rides so far. Lasse FREDRIKSEN, he's out in red for the Gladiators in gate 3. And Darryl RITCHINGS is the poor man who's got gate 4 in yellow for the Pirates.
Somewhat surprised we're not seeing Paul Starke a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, good luck to Darryl. I've no problem with Darryl RITCHINGS as a rider. I'm just a little bit surprised given the Pirates need to get something here that they're not trusting Paul Starke.
Stark's got 5 from 4 rides, and RITCHINGS has got paid 2 from 3 rides.
This is why I'm not a team manager.
There must be a reason. There must be a reason that Danny Ford has gone that way.
So, 8-point lead, favoured gates 1 and 3 here in heat number 14. 2 riders having a really good night. You know, Lasse FREDRIKSEN has slotted into the main body well. Can they bring home another maximum?
Here we go for gate heat number 14. That's a great gate there from Zach Cook. He's coming under pressure around the outside by Lasse FREDRIKSEN. Can he squeeze through? He's got through Lasse FREDRIKSEN. It didn't look like there was room there, but he's managed to squeeze between the fence and Zach Cook, and he leads over the start-finish line.
That was absolutely superb racing by both. There was plenty of room given, and Lasse FREDRIKSEN snuck round the outside. Unfortunately, Mitchell Cluff came under a little bit of pressure to Darryl RITCHINGS. Now, Zach Cook has got a lap and a half to go. He's going up the inside of FREDRIKSEN. This is fantastic racing. Plenty of room given, and FREDRIKSEN holds the place. 1 lap to go. Can he hold him off?
Yeah, Zach Cook putting him under all sorts of pressure here, trying the inside line this time. Lasse FREDRIKSEN just about holding on at the front. And this, if he can hang on here, it's going to be a 10-point lead for the Gladiators. And Zach Cook trying all the way to the finish line there, but FREDRIKSEN just doing it by probably just over half a bike's length. Celebrates by punching the air, and another fantastic race win for the Gladiators.
For the 2nd time in a row, the Gladiators have defeated the POOLE Pirates. Absolutely superb, a 10-point advantage with just 1 heat to go. Lasse FREDRIKSEN has had a superb night. He's had a superb start to the season, but also, I'm going to do it again, I'm going to take my hat off to Mitchell Cluff, who gave it as best as he could, but a really good night for Cluff. But what a night for Garry May and the team. A rider down, 10-point advantage with 1 to go.
Lasse FREDRIKSEN, the race winner there in red for the Gladiators. Zach Cook battling all the way there for his 2nd place in white for the Pirates. Mitchell Cluff, another point for him that takes him to 8 this evening, by far his biggest score for the Gladiators. And Darryl RITCHINGS coming in last place for the Pirates. So another 4-2 for the Gladiators, opening up that gap in this first leg of this Knockout Cup tie to 10 points, 47 to 37. And we've got heat 15 to go, and Pirates will be doing their utmost to try and claw back 4 points heading into that 2nd leg at Wimborne Road next Wednesday.
I hope at home you're enjoying this as much as we are, because we've seen some really good racing here this evening. Absolutely brilliant from these two. The 2 number 4s, Lasse FREDRIKSEN in red, Zach Cook in white. No quarter ass, none given. Plenty of fair racing going on, space given to both. in their pursuit for a race win. Zach Cook rode as good a line as he could possibly have done in behind Lasse FREDRIKSEN there. Lasse put his bike as best he could on the racetrack, but that was absolutely superb from the Gladiators boys, and with 1 heat to go, 10-point advantage. Garry May must be delighted, because it's a bigger picture in this fixture, of course. It's a two-legged affair, and any advantage you can take to Poole, given Plymouth's measly record at Poole in recent years, is huge.
Well, this is the biggest margin they've taken to Poole that I can remember, certainly for a long time, but so it gives them a chance, and sensibly they've got through 14 races and now they're having the kids race, so the youngsters still have their bit of fun. Still 1 race to go. You know, we're still going to get heat 15 through, even if it starts raining now, so hats off to the riders, the referee and everyone for rattling through this in such quick time. What's the time now? Only 8:15, and we've had 14 races in an hour and a quarter. That is some going.
And we can emphasise enough for those of you at home who think we're banging on about the weather. The forecast has been so bleak all week. It hasn't changed one bit about tonight, and we were so worried that we were going to lose tonight to the weather. Garry May and Mitchell Cluff having a joke. I think Mitchell was trying to work his way into heat 15. And I think Garry just had to let him down gently. But what a night for that young man. Dropping down to reserve, we hoped it would pay dividends. Is Mark Phillips going to get involved in this race?
Look at that. Isn't that so brilliant to see all those youngsters turning up to watch the Speedway? That is, as I always say when we watch this, the future of the sport, isn't it? Not just spectators, but maybe 1 or 2 of them will become riders as well.
And not only the youngsters, this big crowd have been rewarded tonight. And the crowds have been up brilliantly so far this season. We've always had good crowds down here at the Coliseum. And to be fair to everybody involved, we've had some really good racing. And a fixture like tonight, where the Gladiators are asserting a bit of dominance over a really strong team, is going to be crucial to getting these families and getting these people back.
A couple of the youngsters banged together there, right? They've picked themselves up. That's good to see. But not nice falling on shale. But yeah, I always felt once Mitchell Cluff was able to drop to reserve, we'd start to see the potential or the best of that young man. And you know, it's been tough, isn't it, coming over to England and having to fill a number 3 berth at the start. But you know,
when you're only riding for 1 club as well.
Yeah, and he's gone to reserve and he's got 8 points, 2 race wins, and that will mean so much to him, won't it? Yeah. Moving ahead, and hopefully he can back that up when he goes to Wimborne Road on Wednesday, where he didn't do. Again, he gated well at Wimborne Road when the Gladiators were there earlier in the season, and hopefully he can muster a few more points.
Absolutely, as we see the rest of the kids coming across the line. The dog is at the back going wide off Ben's Fort. Just touched the air fence a little bit, but the dog will finish the race, thankfully, as the children come over the finish line. I think they get something for completing the children's race. I think there's a box of sweets. No surprise about which 2 Garry May is talking to.
Harrison Barker, the Cornish double act again. Can I just say the pictures on TV make it look a lot brighter. Then if we look out from where we're commentating from, it's incredibly gloomy out there, but it looks like a summer's evening down in the pits, doesn't it?
It's more like a
that's better.
Yeah, it's more like a September evening than a May evening.
That's a camera shot from I think that's Rob. Gives us a better idea of how gloomy and the track lights are shining out brightly.
I would just like to pay tribute to Rob and Paul as well, because we're nice tonight. We're in the warm,
which is unusual.
We're in the dry, but those 2 guys on the camera have done a sterling job out in the cold, and we saw Rob there just showing us the weather. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, I think I'm going to get wet on my way home.
And we mustn't forget Andy here, who's oiling the wheels.
Of course not.
As ever, doing a fantastic job.
And is in with us in the warm as well.
Yeah, a wise man.
Mark Phillips getting a bit of advertising in for whoever made his mug for him.
I didn't...
great to see Mark. Great to see Mark smiling. And what a night this will mean for him as well. Yeah. This will be great for him because, as I mentioned, Plymouth haven't had a great record in recent times against Poole, but to get a big win in a crucial fixture, knockout cup fixture, in front of a really good crowd, great for all involved.
And it's always the bar bandits always turn up at Poole, and there's a few others who make the journey. Maybe even more people will travel over on Wednesday night with the prospect of maybe Plymouth pulling off a major shock in the knockout cup. But I'm sure the Pirates will have something to say about that on their own track.
Well, I was just thinking, Danny Ford will be taking to his 2 riders here, who are Richard Lawson and Anders Rowe, by the looks of it. So we've got, who've we got here? We've got Harris in red and Barker in blue. We've definitely got Rowe in yellow, Lawson in white. Oh, Harris is in blue, it would seem.
Yeah,
Chris
so
Harris
Barker
is in
will be
blue.
in red.
Barker in red, Lawson in white.
Who's got what gate positions, though? That's what we need to find out.
Yeah.
Who's the unlucky one to be handed slot number 4?
Well, fingers crossed. The Gladiators have got the favourable gates, but I'm not convinced. As they make their way round to the start. Come on, boys. See if we can add to this advantage. Go into
So
Wimborne
Richard
Road.
Lawson's the first one up. Now, where is he going? He's
Gate
going.
1.
So they've got 1 and 3. So the Gladiators have got 2 and 4.
They've got it all to do.
So
But they did get a heat advantage of 2 and 4 in heat number 13.
yeah.
So against pretty much this pairing, obviously Rowe is in for Kerr here.
Danny Ford will be really keen though for the.
Oh, he'll
Pirates
want
to
a
get
heat advantage
A heat
here.
advantage, yeah, to cut this gap.
Look,
I mean,
10 points is likely. It's possible to be overturned.
Yeah,
You would
I'm
still
sure-
make pool favourites. However, a 14-point deficit gives the Gladiators a cushion.
Richard Lawson off white in gate 1 for the Pirates. Ben Barker in red. Off gate 2 for the Gladiators. It's Anders Rowe in gate 3 in yellow for Poole, and then Chris Harris has got that outside gate in blue for the Gladiators. It's going to be a fitting end to what's been a really good meeting here tonight. 4 top riders battling it out here. Can the Gladiators extend that 10-point advantage, or can the Pirates chip away at it, or will we go to Wimborne Road with it a 10-point margin?
Now look at this. I'm not going to claim to be prophetic.
You've moved.
Chris
It's moved.
Harris
Yeah.
is looking at
Oh,
the
is he?
inside. He had a little look there towards the inside of gate number 4.
He's rolled back, hasn't he?
So let's see where he starts off. I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
If anybody can make gate 4 work, Chris Harris.
Has he rolled back to where he was? I think. I think he's very much in the centre of, or he's just switching over a bit more to the.
He's not
far
he's
side
not
by the
happy with
fence.
Anders Rowe's
He's
position.
pretty close to that fence, isn't he, Chris Harris?
I don't think he was impressed with where Anders Rowe's going.
The last race of the night. Oh! There's a big clash there between the rider Anders Rowe and Chris Harris. They both did really well to stay on there, but it's Richard Lawson at the front, and there's a great overtake round the outside by Ben Barker.
Ben Barker going around the outside, so's Chris Harris. Ben's 1 and 2 isn't the place to do it, Chris. You've got to do it off Ben's 3 and 4. Awful lot of contact going into Ben's 1 and 2 by all 4 riders. All 4 did well to stay on their bike. Can Chris Harris close the gap on Anders Rowe in 3rd? Richard Lawson's out in front. Barker steady in 2nd place. Harris has got 1 lap to go, but he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, I'm surprised the referee didn't call it back. There was so much contact between Rowe and Harris, but
here he comes.
It's Harris, one last effort around the outside to try and make it a 3-3, just about hanging onto his bike.
Whoa.
And Anders Rowe gets that 3rd place. Harris trying all he could there. So it does finish with a race advantage to the Pirates, a 4-2 to cut the deficit at the end of this first leg of this knockout cut match to 8 points, 49 to 41. Richard Lawson, the race winner, to give him 10 points for the evening.
Yeah, fair play to Lawson. Fair play to all 4 riders, as I say, for staying on their bikes at Ben's 1 and 2. That was very tight going into it. Ben Barker takes a good round of applause. Fair play to him. Strong night from the captain.
Lawson, the race winner there, with in white for the Pirates. Ben Barker 2nd in red. A valuable 3rd place for Anders Rowe. Who knows how crucial that's going to be over the course of the 2 legs. And Chris Harris coming up at the back in blue for the Gladiators. So 4-2 back for the Pirates, giving us a final score this evening and what's been a great night's entertainment. It's Plymouth 49, Poole 41, as the rain clouds gather in the distance. But Garry May and the team, I think, will be pretty happy with that.
Absolutely, yeah. It would have been nice to take a double-figure lead to Wimborne Road, of course it would have. But look, any time you get an 8-point win over the POOLE Pirates, you've got to enjoy it. I'm sure Garry will be absolutely delighted with what's gone on here tonight, as will everybody inside the Coliseum. And I'm sure the boys are going to get a huge round of applause as they go round on the truck in a minute. Nobody is going home yet. They all want to stay and support their boys as they head round on the truck. Mark flies round on the wagon. Great night, really good racing, some really good racing from both sides. And look, if that's what we're going to get for the rest of the season here at the Coliseum, bring it on, because Ben's 3 and 4 served up some proper entertainment at the end.
Yeah, and there's some good solid scoring throughout the team tonight for the Gladiators. I know Ben Trigger got 3, but he'll still be pretty pleased with that. The next stream, of course, is that second leg and the Knockout Cup. It's going to be on Pirates TV from Wimborne Road on Wednesday, next Wednesday. Poole v Plymouth in the second leg of this Knockout Cup clash, and that's going to be another mouth-watering affair. And the next home live stream on Gladiators TV, and what a match is that going to be? It's the Red Car Bears, who've been one of the best teams in the league so far this season. They've been piling up the points. They've got a really strong top 3. That's on June the 7th. That's the next home stream here. But a little couple of weeks break for the Gladiators from home action. Mitchell Cluff will be very happy there, sitting next to Garry May.
He's very close to Gary's elbow.
What's Mitchell Cluff asking for?
He's just trying to get some families on the wagon. Ben Barker wants them to get on with it. He's got somewhere to be. It's still early, Ben. It's not even 8:30 yet. Have I got news for you? Hasn't even started.
So, very happy camp there. Garry May still got programme in hand and pen. Working.
He'll be trying to plot some moves for Wednesday
night.
night.
The team scores. Look at that from the Gladiators. Nice solid scoring. Ben Barker with 13. Top scoring, it's Lasse FREDRIKSEN, 9+1. Alfie BOWTELL and Chris Harris getting 8+3 and 8+2. Mitchell Cluff, as I said, 8 points, 2 race wins. Brilliant performance by the young Australian. Ben Trigger, 3 from 3 rides, so he's managed to get his average there. POOLE Pirates, well, Richard Lawson after that, last place in his first outing, piling up the points with 10. But, fairly solid throughout there. Anders Rowe 8, Tobias THOMSEN 7. They would have expected more from Zach Cook, Lewis Kerr and Paul Starke, all got 5 apiece, and Darryl RITCHINGS getting 1+1 from his 4 rides, giving us the final total of 49 points to 41. Is 8 points going to be enough to take to Wimborne Road as the tractor goes round? The very happy Gladiators fans and the Colin Hill stand down the back straight. A big smiling Mark Phillips driving that truck. He'll be delighted not only with the victory but getting this meeting through before the elements arrive, and it's going to set up a really interesting second leg. That the Pirates had quite a convincing win over Plymouth earlier in the season in the BSN series, but I understand that Chris Harris will be guesting for Plymouth. Obviously Nikolai Clint unavailable for that one as well, so Bomber's got a great tradition at Poole of producing some magnificent races, and he'll be a great spearhead for the Gladiators going into that meeting. And as the riders decamp, I think Joe's going to try and grab one of them, maybe Garry May, and we'll cross to Joe.
Garry, you must be an absolutely delighted man. An 8-point victory over the Pirates. We waited 2 years to beat them. We've done it back to back.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but you know, my boys really rode well tonight. You know, and you know, when you're missing Zane and you can only use 3 of the main team riders, and you've got to have a reserve in the RR, no guests, and I thought I was really up against it tonight, considering Paul at full strength. But we know we talked to my riders, we spoke all through the meeting, certain things and everything, and we won.
It's something we're doing quite well in the last few years, is facing adversity with a team losing riders, but they show so much spirit, don't they?
Yeah, they do, you know. All you got to do is talk to riders about the track, what's happening. It's like Lassie in Heat 14. He was coming off a gate 3. I said to him, just go right round. Cookie's going to head to the curb, go round him. Look at the replay, and he did it. Perfect. You know what I mean?
People like Lassie, Ben Barker have had good nights, but a special mention to Mitchell Cluff, dropping to reserve for the first time, 8 points, and boy, didn't he enjoy his win in Heat 2.
Yeah, he really did tonight. You know, Mitchell's really done. He spent another, money on engines and everything, and he's had a bit of a telling off as well. You know, he could end up getting a flight back, but maybe tonight might have saved him.
We're going to get wet in a minute, Garry, so we better go in the dry. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So a very happy Garry May there, but just talking about that 8-point margin that Plymouth take to Poole next week. And as I said, that should be a really interesting second leg up at Wimborne Road. So don't forget, you've got Pirates live stream of that meeting. If you can't make it along to Poole, it should be a great meeting if you can, but if not, tune in for that Pirates live stream. But a great evening's racing here. But hope you've enjoyed it at home. But from myself, Joe, and the Gladiators TV team here this evening, a very good evening.